Welcome back to Accessible Gourmet. Today we're making Chinese stuffed pancakes. I'm using the recipe from the Walks of Life. As I've mentioned before, this is one of my favorite places for Asian recipes, and I've linked the recipe below. Here's everything you need to make this dish. Let's start with the dough. In the bowl of a stand mixer, add 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, a half of a teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 of a cup of water. Let this dough knead for 5 minutes. Once the dough is kneaded, cover it with a damp towel and let it rest for 1 hour. While the dough is resting, let's work on the filling. In a small bowl, mix together 8 ounces of ground pork, a tablespoon of soy sauce, a half a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, an 1/8 of a teaspoon of cumin, and an 1/8 of a teaspoon of sugar. We want to mix this until everything is well incorporated and all the dry ingredients have mixed into the ground pork. Once this is blended, set it aside. Now let's prep the cabbage. Finely chopped cabbage to yield 1 cup. You want to make sure this is a very fine chop on this because you don't want it poking out of your bun when you go to fry it. So, chop up your cabbage, chop up 2 scallions and add it to a bowl. To this we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, an 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper, and 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. Mix this all together with a spoon and also set this aside until we're ready to use it. Now we're ready for the dough. This is going to be a very sticky dough, so it'll be easier if you oil your bench so it doesn't stick while you're rolling it out. We're going to divide the dough into 8 equal pieces and keep the unused portions covered with a towel so that they don't dry out. Take one of your pieces of dough and sprinkle it with a couple of drops of oil. This is going to help it not stick to your bench or your rolling pin as you're rolling this out. We're going to roll this into a long, thin triangle about 4 inches wide. Once the dough is rolled out, add an 1/8 of your pork mixture and spread it all over your dough, avoiding the edges. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the cabbage mixture to the end closest to you. Start rolling this forward, tucking in the edges as you go, so everything is nicely encased in your dough. Once it's rolled, turn it up on one end and press until you get a 3.5 inch round. To this we're going to sprinkle just a pinch of sesame seeds all over the top, and repeat this with all of your dough portions until you have 8 stuffed pancakes. Over medium-high heat, heat up a half of cup of oil in a cast iron or a heavy bottom pot. Add your buns into this. I keep saying buns, but they're pancakes. Add your pancakes carefully into the oil. This is going to pop. So we're going to fry these for 3 sides per minute, depending on the thickness of your pancakes. Mine took a little bit longer, but we're going to fry these on each side until they're golden brown. Once they're golden brown, we're going to transfer them to a paper towel lined plate and sprinkle with some scallions. And there you have it, Chinese stuffed pancakes. These are best eaten hot, but you can definitely freeze them and heat them up later in the oven. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you loved it, subscribe because I put out new videos every week. Until next time, happy cooking.